Well, people, craziness ensues. I got a little bit of intel here. Russia is still moving all kinds of equipment to Ukraine, the border of Ukraine. But there's I mean, it's fixing to pop off. Man, I'm sitting here watching this one video. I wish I could show. I don't know. Maybe I can. Maybe if I hold it here, maybe I can show on this camera the video. Don't know. Maybe it would have to be zoomed out a bit. Look. This is the video. Like I said, it's horrible. It's on the WeberNet. Oh, this guy was shaky. He was a little worried about taking video of it, but this is all Russian hardware on train going to Ukraine, right? All these vehicles. Yeah, he was nervous. That's what's how he was worried about somebody catching him filming this stuff. That's what's going on, though. This is off Twitter, but there's a lot going on. Listen, this ain't no joke, people. There is it's fixing to pop off. We're fixing to have, I ain't gonna say exactly World War III. I'm gonna say limited some exchange, and you know, people that are in the military know what I'm talking about when you care to send the very best. Yeah. This is gonna be, we're gonna have a whole, man, we're gonna have a whole kind of a Vietnam kind of thing going on. Anyway, and there'll be a limited exchange, and because I know they're gonna use what they use. But here's something else too. There's a whole nother dynamic to the situation, because there's this whole other country called Kazakhstan. Now, Russia just had, here's what happened in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan was part of Russia, and then when it broke up, for the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, and then when it broke up, Kazakhstan became its own country, but very, very closely allied with Russia. And in doing so, they were also, much like Russia, very, very corrupt. And the people now have gotten tired of all of the corruption from the leadership in Kazakhstan. So the people, like, you know, like how they had a revolt with the Bolsheviks. Well, I mean, look, this is a revolution. Is what they're doing. And they overturned, I guess, but I know they burned it. I think they overturned and burned a car out front, and it might have been his car, out front of the mayor's house. The mayor, or I'm not sure if it was just a local mayor, or if they also did that to the where the president of Kazakhstan is, or whatever. But anyhow, so the president of Kazakhstan, or the country, their leadership, basically, and I'm trying to get a washout, so in the middle of a few things, but so basically, Kazakhstan called on Mother Russia, if you call them that, to come and send in troops, because they are not going to be in control if they don't. So Russia took some of the same paratroopers that invaded Crimea. Okay, keep this in mind, you know, battle hardened, these guys here, to go in and do what they're going to call a police action. But what it's going to be is, it's going to be some ethnic cleansing. It's going to be a mess, and they're not just going to go in there and sit down and have coffee and think everything's going to be okay. And no, they're going to start some mess. They're going to start some mess. And there's already a referendum by a high-ranking member of the Communist Party in Russia that's calling for them to vote on whether they should basically annex Kazakhstan. Okay, so that's next. So Kazakhstan is fixing to probably become part of Russia again. Crimea is fixing to go hot, and Russia's going to have a battle on two fronts. Now, Kazakhstan is already, well, the people there is against them, but they're not. It's not like they're armed and trained and all this stuff. I think that when it comes to Crimea, I think that Russia is fixing to lose the whole shooting match. I believe that there's going to be, well, I know that there's going to be the little exchange thing. I know there's going to be a little situation, but I believe the end result that I don't know about yet. I think they're going to lose Donbass. I think they're going to lose Crimea. And I think they're not going to gain anything in Ukraine. They've been sending their little green men, okay? Part of their 66th division, okay? And they're regulars, but they're sending them in as little green men. And they've been identified after they've been killed as being from the 66th of Russia. So it seems that that whole division is where those guys come from. And they're making these little incursions, there's been, like a wave, another wave, another, but they're being taken care of. If that continues, that's like harassment, okay? It's manageable, but then there's the whole other situation. They're also sending not just that heavy equipment, they're sending other types of armaments. They're sending what I call rubber tires. Now, I'm going to say the reason I say this first. I had an uncle that said when he was fixing some, cutting down some trees and stuff, that the best piece of equipment you could have is a rubber tire. I asked him, what's a rubber tire? He says, well, he described it to me. I'm like, you're talking about a front end loader. You're talking about a bucket on one side and a rear bucket that has an articulating arm with hydraulics. So a front end loader. The front end is a loader. The back end is a ditch digger, a hoe, like a track hoe, but it's not tracked. It's rubber tires on rims. They're sending in, I appreciate the light, they're sending in rubber tires, but they're rubber tire tanked, right? These are tanks that are rubber tires. Now, they are heavily armored fast movers. So we're talking about an armored vehicle. It probably, the bottom of the hull is probably in a V shape, but I'd have to take a better look at the other things I've seen on them. But I'm sure there's stuff online that I haven't even seen that'd be easy to find now. So they're sending in armored vehicles, kind of like what you would see a SWAT team come in with, right? With the little windows like a tank. I'm sorry, these guys are yelling. They always yell at each other in these washouts. I don't know why they do that. It makes me want to, do whoop. Anyway, so the thing is, these rubber tires they're sending in are fast movers, heavily armored vehicles. They are for a small amount of occupants, and they are for basically, I think that's going to be their first incursion of vehicles, is to use those. But what they're not counting on is the resistance they're going to get. It's not going to happen. I've seen, we're talking about, look up the Javelin missiles. Look those up. I don't know what that beeping is. Who knows? Let's see here. I mean, I got too many devices here. Anyway, everything's live, not just the YouTube. So anyhow, look up the Javelin missiles, and then there's another. Well, that's good enough. We're talking about anti-tank armaments. Okay, we'll go with that. I'm gonna shut this thing off. So I'm gonna have to move up in a second. Finally, after being here, I've been here long enough to have shaved with an electric razor. I've been, I mean, it's been about 2 hours, a good hot minute. This place was lined out the walls. So my angels got me through, but it's all good. But yeah. So anyhow, so back to this situation. They are going to try to annex Kazakhstan, and they're going to probably be tried for war crimes against the stuff they're going to do there. It's going to be worse than what they did in Georgia, and there was another country that they invaded at one point. But anyhow, it doesn't completely divide their forces, but it divides their attention. This is actually good for Ukraine. It was caused by the people of Kazakhstan and the bad leadership. It just happens to be right about the right time to be diversionary subterfuge, but created by the people. So God bless the people of Kazakhstan. I'm just going to say that. As it turns out, the end result will be that Russia will be fighting a battle on two fronts at this point. Appreciate the other like. So just enough to give them trouble, as honestly, as much propaganda as they pump out all over the place, and as much trouble as they have caused with this whole Crimea annexation. Like, you can't just annex a country even if they vote themselves into whatever. They're trying to get this, they're calling it the new Russia, but they're saying that they're going to, the propaganda even on Twitter from their leadership is, we're going to do everything we can to get Ukraine back and to do this and whatever. It's ugly. It's just ugly. And it's bold and in the face of the world. And so the end result will be, as soon as this pops off, I think that Ukraine will be given NATO membership, or at the very least their EU allies, to the new EU army that's going on, just because there's some stuff popping off. And it's reminiscent of Vietnam to me, what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing. I can't say everything I know. I can't, this is what I know, and I can't even say everything I know. You know, not on the internet, not here, for sure. And so people, it's fixing to go hot. I mean, like, by the time you could, go take a break, you come back, it's already popped off. Things are getting hot now. Like, the moves I've seen being made are not front end moves. They're not moves that are made, if somebody invaded in, say, 2 years or 6 months, maybe we might want to do this, or these things might, no. This is the tail end of it all. We're looking at the beginning of the end of a conflict, because it's going to end so fast. This conflict is going to bring in everybody, the whole world. We're already in it. Everybody's already in it. So basically, I don't know of any army that's not already poised to strike. Not to strike back, but to, at an incursion, at a moment's notice, be ready and strike. That's where we're at right now. I'm not Chicken Little saying the sky is falling. Russia already invaded part of Ukraine. That already happened. That was Crimea, and then Donbass. Well, that, to me, I was like, okay, that's kind of what they do in this kind of thing. And then they cut off the water to them, and now they don't have water, so they're going to have to go for the water or whatever. But the other is what they want, is a straight route to the Black Sea. But what Russia has done, and the 10,000 troops they moved, I said before that they would hold back 10,000. I already said this. That's part of my knowing. Well, on top of that, I was just telling this guy what's going on. What's going to happen is, okay, the reason they want them off the battlefield is because they know there's going to be a limited nuclear strike. I'll just put it out there like that. That's why they moved them back to their so-called bases, and they're going to rotate them out as this thing goes on or whatever. Because if it happens, that way the people that are supposed to be their reinforcements won't be in harm's way. That is their battle plan. Whether it's accurate or up to the minute or what or this or that, I'm telling you that's what it is. I'm just telling you. So it doesn't matter that I speak on it now because it's fixing to pop off. So when you see it in the news and you're like, how in the world did that? And this guy said it. Yeah. So don't worry about the amount of speed it takes, though, for countries to react, because the countries have already reacted. Okay? They've already reacted. It's not just in the works. It's already wrapped up in a bow. The only question is, how many of those fast movers will go in what direction to meet their doom, to meet their end? That's it. That's the only question. I already know what's fixing to happen. I already know what's fixing to fall, and then I know what's going to happen with the exchange, but I don't know what's going to happen after that. I'm hoping at that point that cooler heads will prevail and it won't become a complete worldwide thermonuclear war because of them using the tactical nukes that they plan to use. So EU wants to expand old USSR. Expand. Oh, no, they're not looking for expansionism. Everything was fine until Russia wanted to take over Crimea. Russia thinks they have all these advanced weapons. The problem is those advanced weapons can be reacted on so quickly. Yeah, they have a 6-minute strike time, but they don't have a freaking clue. Russia doesn't have a freaking clue. They do not have a clue. They think because they have something that looked wondrous to them and blew their mind away to see it tested. Several different things. The only thing they have that is a danger to a lot of people is the Poseidon. And that they could cut off the entire internet and all trading from undersea cables. They already know that, and that they've already got triggers on that. That's what they have that is terroristic. That's reminds me of the V2 Vengeance rockets, right? Washout, truck wash. Two, washout. Nope, just this. So yeah, this thing's a mess because I don't want. Oh, he wants to go ahead and start on me. All right, let him do it. Let him do the thing. So it has gotten. It's hot. Like it's not a Cold War. It was already a hot war, but now it's not just some people that are coming in raiding parties, is what I'm calling them, from Russia into extended pieces of Donbass and into Ukraine. But it's they're fixing to. Both sides are going to go on the offensive. That's what I'm saying. Both sides. There won't be a question. Let's see if he can get me up to here. All right, bro. Yeah, I'm trying to push him out the way. So anyways, hey, yo, hey, stay a little bit off my truck. Don't wipe off the graphics, and don't put a bunch of pressure into the radiator. And I don't want you to lift the hood. Leave the hood down. Yep. All of them. Stay a bit off of them. But get in the back and get under the frame as best as you can. If you want, I can drop it. Probably better if I don't. Just do it as if I did. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, we getting this thing clean. That's what's popping. So anyway, all right, they want to start on me, even though there's a guy in front of me. They're like, I think they like my truck. Is what I ain't gonna lie. Anyway, so back to this. You're gonna hear after it's done happened. You're gonna hear things like, you know how, I don't know if you remember, but there was a presidential address when they admitted to Vietnam. Okay, we'll say it like that. There was a presidential address when they, I mean, there's going to be something like that, but there's also going to be something like a, I can't say a Tom Brokaw, but kind of like a Tom Brokaw. Whoever their Peter Jennings kind of person is that they want to put up there is going to, you know, sit there and do a little thing and say, this has happened, whatever, and world leaders are talking. That's what you're going to get. It's not going to be an emergency broadcast service. It's not going to be when it happens. It's going to be after it happens. And it's going to be basically a heads up. And at that point, it's not going to be like the Cuban Missile Crisis where they were telling everybody, hey, get up under tables and duck and cover and all this jazz. It's not going to be like that, okay? They're going to try to keep it as cool, calm, and collected as possible, but they're going to let you know, oh, you know, a little something. You know what I mean? Because if they don't, at the point, if we saw missiles, that would be something that, you know, people would revolt and be like, how come you didn't tell us what was going on? And now, you know, whatever. We're just trying to go about our normal, everyday Joe Schmo life, and that pops off. Yeah, they're doing all the shouts and calls. I'm gonna step out for a second. We're gonna continue this. I'm gonna step out for a second. There's a little more to this, okay? Because it has to do with Finland also, okay? There's a little something to it. Russia didn't learn from Finland. So I'll tell you about that in just a second. I gotta step inside for half a second. I'll leave this running. But people, don't listen to me, okay? For real, check out Twitter. Not even my Twitter. Check out Twitter, people. It's fixing to pop off, and you can find out some of the intel that I can't even talk about already on Twitter. I'll be right back. had to take my hubcaps off. I wanted them to put Citrus Shine on the rims. This whole thing's steaming. First fresh water this thing's seen. It's been Snowmageddon. So yeah, well, better than Armageddon. Yeah, so I'm gonna do another live later after it pops off, and I think I'm gonna call it Gog and Magog. It's kind of like that, and it's a civil war, even though they split up, because they're kind of like the same people. They're all Slavs, okay? And the people of Russia are not behind this war, but the Russian government is. So there could even become unrest within Russia, okay? They may take a play out of the playbook of Kazakhstan and what they're doing, and say, look, Kazakhstan's revolting, and so why shouldn't Russia revolt? They might do that, you know. And so, I mean, there's a real tight grip on people, but if they realize that all of their sons and daughters that are going to war are not coming back, there could be civil unrest in Russia. Now, I'm not calling for that in any way. I'm just stating the mere fact that it's like the Dover effect. Look that up. Those people are only going to stand for it. Well, it won't be for so long, because they only have like a couple of kids apiece, you know, most of them. So they're going to look at how it was with the original revolution, and a lot of them look at where the royal family of Russia was murdered, and that's where all of the stories of Anastasia, which really is Anastasia, come from. These were the Romanovs, okay? So there was a revolution, and they killed the royal family. And a lot of people don't like that. And that's why even the leadership of Russia has to tiptoe around that story, because that's how they're in power in the first place. And even though they located the bodies of the Romanov family by where they said they put them, and they wanted to have them buried, and they wanted the Russian Orthodox Church to do it, and the Russian Orthodox Church refused once they realized it was all just a political show, and that it was to somehow help people get behind the Russian Communist Party. So they said, no, we're not going to be a part of that. It's a whole big thing. There's a mess of a whole bunch of things that they have to tap dance around, a whole bunch of issues from them being in power in the first place. So the people may start thinking of this and understand that it wasn't very long ago that they lost the royal family that was actually intermarried with and cousins to the British royal family. The Romanovs were. So there's a lot that are on the people's minds when it comes to how they judge what's going on in Russia. And they have a yardstick that to measure it against of, are they all going to be killed anyhow? Should they stand up and be against the government? Should they go along to get along? Is this the Russia they wanted for, generations to come? That kind of thing. And then they look back and they see the Bolshevik revolution, all that. They see this constant war machine that is Russia. Even the people in Ukraine, in the Ukrainian army, one guy said all Russia understands is constant war all the time. And they are people that speak Russian and used to be part of Russia, and that's like their cousins and their extended family. They still intermarry. It's not that they're bad people. They understand how the government there works, and they don't want to be under that authoritarianism. So the people in Russia may be emboldened to stand up against their leadership. There's no telling how this might go down. There's no telling, because Russia's busy in Kazakhstan, and which won't be too big of a deal. And then they're also busy now with Donbass, Crimea, and Ukraine. The logistics of this are going to stretch Russian resources. Their food supply is going to be affected. Their value of the ruble is going to be affected. If they are cut out of, and this will happen, if they're cut out of the SWIFT system, which is the trading system, which means they can't sell or buy goods, period, it will be almost like an Amish person being ostracized by their own people, being shunned. Okay? That's how I'll describe it. So Russia's fixing to be shunned by the entire global finance system instantly. Like, it'll be instant karma. And man, they don't have what we have for goods and services. They just don't have it. That's why they have to take older cars and machines and make what they can out of it. It's a glorified Cuba. Cuba takes like 57 Chevys, older, from back when they could trade with the United States. They had those cars there, and so they make their own parts. So there's a lot of good machinists, good bodywork people that do good work, keeping those things running and looking like new. And well, in the end result, they can do that. But if you got nothing to work with in the first place except for a bunch of old Russian hardware from the military, and the military really don't want to give up a whole lot of stuff, you got a bunch of diesel machines that ain't going to have diesel. That's just the truth. I'm watching this unfold rapidly right now, though. Go to Twitter, people. Like I said, I'm gonna pull over here. I'm gonna find a little place to park. I'm gonna leave this live. If you got comments, make them. I'm gonna check the comments that might have been made. But you need to be glued to any emergency reports that pop up regarding European Union, NATO, American forces, anything that you see that pops up that seems imminent, or any type of a presidential address, because I can see that happening, like, man, soon, like ASAP soon. I can see that happening. They're going to have to inform the American people, because really a lot of the American people are online and they're already informed. So there's that. And it's no longer going to be confined. I don't think that Honestly, I don't think Russia, if Russia attacks them, I don't think that their border is going to be at that point a border. I don't think that it's going to matter, because if a sovereign nation attacks another sovereign nation and NATO says that that is foul ball, you know, well, at that point, I don't think it's going to matter where Russian troops are parked. I think they're all going to be fair game. All of them. Somebody tell me different. If you know different, you let me know about that one. I don't think borders are going to matter at that point. I really don't. I think Russia knows it too, and that's why they threatened to hit, you know, people who were in charge here. Which they've already been doing that crap with the Havana Syndrome. Look that up too. I did a video on that. This has been going on for a long time. It's just coming to a head. And it's fixing to produce a war that will be on the world stage, and it will be shut down. And when it's shut down, it's going to be such an embarrassment and such a financial breaking for Russia that I don't know what the people of Russia would be able to do other than to revolt. So I'm just saying, I'm just watching it happen. I'm not calling for anything. I'm just stating the obvious. Captain Obvious here. It's not going to fly. So, if anybody's got any questions, like I said, or any comments they want to make, feel welcome to do so. Know that this is not something that I would say is going to go by and just be unnoticed by history. There's a lot of stuff that they can cover up, but so much of it's already out on the internet. And here's the worst part of Russia's problem is they can't keep their people off the freaking social media and all. They outlawed for any of their military to have cell phones because they were going on there and posting selfies and hey look, and it was time stamping them and geo stamping them as being in Ukraine. And there were landmarks that were visible that's like, hey, no, that picture you took where you're in front of the tank, yeah, or on that hill or whatever, yeah, you're in Ukraine right there. You know? And you're also getting a check from the Russian military, so you're in the military, and so it's proof that they had people there. So there's no more hiding the people, there's no more lying about where they're at, and the jig is up, and they know it. So even the 10,000 that they moved to make it look like, oh, they moved 10,000 people away from there, that's the reserves, and they're keeping them away from being demolished and decimated. Yeah, they're gonna have to record this in history. There's no way that this is not going to be known. Kind of like how they were aiding and training the North Vietnamese, and that there were certain no-fly zones and sections that, you know, we stayed away from because of the fact that, hey, listen, if you know, actually hitting Russian officers and this kind of thing, it could, you know, make an escalation. Well, it's going to be very similar to that. That even though it happened and it was quiet for a bit, it'll be in history books. There's no way that this is not going to be taught of what they did, how it went down, how it wasn't right, because they tried to take over a country that had gained its own freedom and autonomy. And so they even recently seized the ex-president who left, who was aligned with Russia, and now he's living in Russia. They seized all of his stuff. They're seizing his paperwork. They raided his place, and they're taking all of his belongings and I guess his bank accounts and all that stuff for further investigation. Well, because I think they're going to try him as being a traitor against the country because he set them up to basically have less people in the military and all this other stuff while he was doing backdoor deals with Russia, so that when they did invade, they would have less resistance. And even the people in the Ukrainian military have said that it seems to be that he was, lessening their forces, cutting funding, all kinds of stuff. And it was, timely. So he's the one that weakened their country. But they've built it up since then. And so now every man, woman, and child there's got weapons. And look up the Javelin. That Javelin is no joke. I don't think there's a vehicle that'll get past that. And it takes about, you got about 30 seconds. I'm not saying on here live. I'm saying if someone shoots a Javelin at you, you have 30 seconds to get away from that vehicle, because it takes that long for it to seek and destroy. I'll say that. Confirm its target. Well, people, hope you're doing well. I don't mean to be the bringer of doom and gloom. I'm not. This is not even doom and gloom. This is just the culmination of a lot of hard work and dedication by a lot of people that have been working to set up a protection for Ukraine and for the rest of Europe by de facto. And NATO does not want to spread anything. And Russia's border, somebody mentioned this too, Russia's border is, I don't know how many thousands of miles, and there's only something like 1,700 of it or 1,400 of it that is even in contact with a NATO country, period. So for them to say that they think that they're being surrounded, all of that is propaganda, 100%. And like I said, I'll check comments real quick. I don't know what, maybe nothing here. Let's see here. It's just that one. Let's see. What about USR? Yeah. Yeah, they do. And they're fixing to, like I said, they've already called for, Russia's leadership's already called for a referendum on basically taking over Kazakhstan, which is already, it's its own government, but they're very well aligned with Russia. So it's not like Ukraine, okay? But the people there have revolted because of the corruption in the government. They're probably starving. There's a lot going on with a lot of those countries. And so when they take Russia out of that SWIFT program, that's the be all end all. They can't trade with anybody but themselves, or maybe other countries that, okay, let's talk about it. They'll have North Korea. They'll have China. If China goes along to get along, China might starve them out and see them as an enemy. China's funny like that. You don't know who China's enemies are because China won't tell you. They don't even know. You can't get out of China what they had for lunch last week because they won't tell you. China's weird. They want you to think that they're so mysterious by keeping everything, all their cards close to their chest. It's called holding your cards close to your chest. Okay? That comes from them having a Silk Road where they sent silk out and made all this money, but they would not allow anyone to know where silk came from. No one had a clue. It comes from silkworms. No one knew this at all. That was so suppressed that people couldn't even talk about it because they thought once somebody else learned, because they steal everybody else's technology, even from way back when, that other people could make silk. Well, then a few monks decided to defect and run away from China, and they took some silkworms with them. And then other Eurasian places learned how to make silk, which it's still good to get silk from whoever, you know, makes it, whatever it, or China. I don't know how much they ship out now, but that used to be their big thing, their big export, and it went everywhere. They would not teach people or tell people how they made it, because they know that they stole other people's stuff all the time, and that would be so easy for them to take, and then they wouldn't have that money coming in. So they won't tell who their friends and enemies are, which is why you wind up seeing hypersonic missiles come out of North Korea, like I was talking about. Yeah, you can't see it because it's going, you know, however many times the speed of, you know, Mach 6 or whatever, Mach 10, however many times the speed of sound. But at the same time, if you could slow motion it down, it would have a sticker on the side that says made in China. So people, I'm gonna get off this thing. Watch the news. They haven't told you anything yet. I just did, though. You'll hear it. I'm gonna get off this thing. Y'all have a good day and stay safe. I'm out. God bless you, people. Peace.